What's going on, guys? I'm back with another one. And I just watched a movie called Don't Breathe 2, starring Stephen Lang, Madeline Grace, and Brendan Sexton the Third. That is a hard, strong name. Okay, and he had to be the third. First of all, I want to explore a small horror genre I like to call the thriller of the senses. We're all well acquainted with the Quiet Place franchise. Quiet Place 1 and A Quiet Place 2. Whole premise is, if they make a noise or a sound, they get killed by the creature. And this was very well played and displayed through both movies. Okay? Within that same year of part 1, 2018, another movie came out called Bird Box. Alright? They flipped the whole premise around, and now if you see the creature, you die. Honestly, I never watched Bird Box, and I didn't care how many people pumped it up and praised it and jumped on the fad of that. Well, it's also the reason that I didn't have Netflix. I still don't have Netflix. But if I did, I still wouldn't have watched that movie. It just felt like I was going to waste my time, and it was being hyped up to the fullest. And so you think after those movies there was going to be an onpouring of other films just like that. There really hasn't been. Now there's Don't Breathe 2. And it really reminds you, or it should remind you, that in 2016, Don't Breathe 1 came out. And Don't Breathe 1 really was the one that started all of this. So my question is, now that we have Don't Breathe 2, is this the continuation of the film that let loose this thriller of the senses? Alright, that's my question. We're about to find out. Let's go. Don't Breathe 2. For those who are not aware, for those who don't know, you must be as blind as the man in this movie. Okay? Maybe even blinder, if that's possible. Because even though it's been a minute since the continuation of this franchise, you haven't forgotten. You have not forgot about this movie. I guarantee you that. Alright, so don't blame me. Don't Breathe 2 is, of course, the continuation of Don't Breathe 1. We join our beloved, our favorite old blind man, Norman. Right? It's years later since that little incident he had last time, and now things are different because now he has a daughter all of a sudden. And with this daughter comes some issues and troubles, because now, because of his daughter, someone is hunting him down. Someone is ready to take back the daughter for some reason. And knowing all this, he has specifically trained his daughter for survival. Of course. Of course he did. And that's the premise of the movie that we know. Positives. Part 2 is very much, in a sense, like part 1, where they did not hold back on the violence. This is a very gritty, raw, grotesque movie. All right, nothing will be, left out with these fighting scenes. It's the fighting too. It's the fighting scenes that amaze me with this movie as well. But the violence, it's just so there. It's so in your face. It's so abrupt. Okay, you got people getting hit with hammers and getting burnt alive, and I'm not gonna say who's that in this set, but you have to find out when you watch the movie. But I just enjoyed that. It's as crazy as that sounds. And with the action, what I loved about that, the old man, it's just crazy or almost unbelievable that a man his age is able to hang with the villains, which are like probably from my age on to 45 years old, which is still half his age. It's still half his age, okay? And he was hanging with these dudes in the fight. He was jacking these dudes up, messing them up really bad, hurting them, as if he was in his 20s still. Okay? And they were afraid. Some of them were afraid of him, as they should have been. And so that was really fun to watch. I for some reason, I don't know what it is, I love to see an old geezer, old man, just beat the crap out of a young guy. Okay, I don't know why. It's just hilarious to me. And this gave me that sensation. All right. I loved all that. Another positive about this movie that I enjoyed. It's another thing with the blind man. The blind man, he is now the anti-hero. Alright. In part 1, he was the villain. Did a very good job at that. It was intimidating. He is the hero now, and he is still intimidating. Okay, so I loved how they flipped the role with this. Now you're rooting for this guy. And yes, he did some very, very disturbing things in part 1. And in his past completely. He even mentions that in the film, in part 2, of the things he's done. Like, he just doesn't feel like he deserves any kind of pity or sorrow. But still, him realizing that was just cool within itself. It was cool that he realizes what he's done in the past. That it was not right. And he just, in a way, but this movie kind of is him repenting. In a way, it's him repenting his sins. It gets a little deep. It gets deep with this one. I guarantee you, it gets deep. Alright? So I liked that. I liked that part of the movie as well, man. The flip. Now, a third positive that I took a liking to was the introduction of the girl. Alright? She doesn't have a prominent name. I'm not going to even name her. Alright? There's a reason why. You gotta watch the movie for that. We'll just call her Madeline, her acting name. Adding her to this, you know that she's been trained by Norman. Thoroughly trained by this blind man who's very good at what he does. Very good. And so he doesn't show any kind of compassion with her at all when it comes to the training. She needs to be used to anybody coming up on her and trying to assault her, no matter what age she is. And you can't be soft with that. You cannot, cannot train her with kid gloves. There you go. You can't put the kid gloves on to train her. You have to take the gloves off at all times with her. And I think she gets that. It's very interesting. And it's just, the fact that she soaked up his training so much in such a short amount of time that you can see it when the enemies start attacking. All right, she's very quick, she's agile, she's good at hiding and being sneaky and getting around things. All right, in order to, save her own butt. Okay, she's good at that. She's very good at that. I enjoyed her adaptation to this. I could tell that something is being, awaited, cooked up in the future for this character, for her character. It's anybody who's not an idiot can see that something is being cooked up for her character. All right, because she very much held her own. There were parts in this movie where she really didn't even need the old man's help. I mean, overall she did, of course, but for some parts it was like, damn, she is really handling this. She has this. She has this part right here. She's got that. She's doing that. She was a little ninja throughout the movie, okay? She was a little ninja with the sneaking. I like that, So, I hope to see more of her in the future. Now, let's get to the negatives. And there's not that much, but we're going to get into this, man. I have an issue with the backstory of the little girl. I'll say when I first started watching this film, there's a part where it shows a streak of gray hair in her, the midst of her brown hair that she has, or dark brown or whatever. And I immediately thought to myself, please don't tell me that you think because that the old man had her when, he's old like he is. He has all gray hair. That you think that she's supposed to have, or she's supposed to be born with a streak of gray. I've never heard of this. I've never heard. Even if he didn't have gray hair. I know some people eventually get gray hair at a young age sometimes, but not the age that she's at. I've never heard of that, even if he didn't. So please don't tell me that's what you... And so I was already a little cringed by that part. But if something else occurs within this movie that kind of changes things, I cannot say, because it is a lot of this movie is twist. All right, so I cannot say, but there are other things about her background. Well, that's also kind of off road with it. The things that I can't mention, a little off road with her background and her backstory. So it's a little like, what? Okay, I didn't like this, but okay, that explains this. But still, what? So it was just, I think they were just making the plot up as they went along. I don't think they wrote this movie out. They just kind of said, all right, action. But we don't have a script. Don't care. We'll make it up as we go. We'll make the plot up as we go. That's what it felt like to me with that. So that was a little diluted to me. Another thing that I had an issue with this movie. Alright. The motivation of the villains at hand. I'm not going to say any relation to what's going on with that. I'll just say this. It was very unrealistic. I don't think this could happen. This could possibly, I guess. But okay, I'll give it this. The villain, like the people that chased him down, the leader has been locked up for 8 years. You spent 8 years to do this. You had it on your mind for 8 years to do what you're about to do. Things don't add up, okay? You're probably like, what is he talking about? Things don't add up with that. Okay, a lot of things just don't add up with that. That plot, with their motivation, the villain's motivation is just what? You can find anybody, but I guess whatever you're doing, but you want to do this. You want to do this. You want to do this for that, of which I can't mention. All right. But since those were the only issues with this, I'm giving this a hell yes. Yes, this movie had me going from the beginning to the end. I loved it. It was mostly the violence. This old man was giving it to these people. He was giving it to them. He was so gangster. All right, that was just, yes. I need you to like, share this video. If you haven't subscribed, you better subscribe.